Hi, Bill here. I like to watch videos on reviews of Invicta watches. I can watch them all day, all night long. Um, but the one thing I noticed is that not too many people, if any, really address the longevity factor. So I figured there's a niche to fill there. So this is kind of like an experimental video. I just wanted to put it out there and see what kind of response it gets. If it does, I certainly have a lot more insights in that I'd like to share if anyone's interested. So if you are, please consider giving it a like, this video a like, or better yet, subscribing to my channel, William Rock 111. That way I'll know it's worth my time and effort to do more of this. But I'd like to address something that nobody seems to really address, and that's the longevity factor of Invicta watches. Let me give you a spoiler alert here. I give them a total thumbs up. 10 out of 10 as far as longevity. Anything that I would say to the negative, please understand that overall. My view of Invicta watches is top notch. They're top notch products. One thing I can tell you about them is I've heard them be referred to as fashion, or what do you call them? Designer watches. Fashion. What I mean? Just something almost like you wear it and throw it away when the battery goes out. That couldn't be farther from the truth. I mean they do not use plastic movements, I can tell you that. And some of the cheaper, like fashion designer watches, that's the term I was trying to think of. A lot of them use plastic movements or movements made even by companies like Miyota, but they're made from the China, Singapore factory, and that's where you run into problems. All Invicta watches have metal movements in them, either from Japan or Swiss movements. I can't tell you for sure that especially on the quartz watch that the Swiss brand is actually better for quartz. They actually got into the market after the Japanese, but that's just my opinion. I'd like to show you a few more watches and a few of the things that might be worth knowing about them before you buy them. This one here, Invicta Bolt Zeus. It's supposed to have that weathered industrial kind of look to it. Very big watch, and I just love it. The one thing I will say regarding this watch is oftentimes like on the TV shop networks, they'll tell you that because it's such a big watch, they put a strap on it to lighten the weight. But I will tell you that if the watch is big enough, a strap just kind of makes the watch lopsided. So even though this watch would technically be heavier if it had a strap or a bracelet on it, it would actually balance the weight out better, and we wouldn't have that where it lays on the side of your wrist quite so much. Let's see, what else can I say? This is another example. This would be a very big watch. It's a Subaqua Noma 4 with the bracelets, heavy, probably close to a pound. But like I say, the bracelet, because it's so thick, it actually offsets the weight of the watch, and so I think I'm kind of as time goes on, I'm more and more of an advocate for the bracelet as opposed to a strap. This is a watch here. I'll let you just try to figure out what I did here. I might make another video because I do alterations to watches. This started out to be a Subaqua Specialty Reserve. Okay. But I've done an alteration to it. If you're, you may be able to figure out what I did. But if I do another video, I'll tell you. But this much I can say is probably the only one of its kind that you'll see, because it's a face that you will not see on a Subaqua Specialty Reserve. Okay, let me see what else we can talk about here. As I said, Invicta makes quality products, but you got to understand that things, anything can wear out. If you work at a desk like I do, you have to expect to have additional wear, either on a bracelet or a strap, on this side. So that's just going to happen if you work at a desk because it's constantly rubbing against the desk. This watch here, you probably can't see it so much, but it actually does have some damage to it because of working at a desk. But you know, if you get a little ingenuitive, you know, I took a brown Sharpie and I was actually able to fill that in to the point where you really can't see it unless you're really looking for it. The other thing you might notice about this watch is the white lettering around the bezel is partially worn off. That kind of thing can happen, you know. One thing I will say about a watch is, this goes for any watch, not just an Invicta, but never try to fast set the date after 9 p.m. because like this watch here, this is what reminded me of it. It's set at the 9th of the month. I cannot change that. That's because you know, sometime after 9 o'clock one night, I tried to fast set the date ahead a few days. Might have been after I replaced the battery or something, and that will, even on a Breitling watch. My nephew has a Breitling watch, and even on those kind of watches, you try to fast set the date after 9 p.m. you can wreck it. Another thing about Invicta is you get what you pay for. Now this is supposed to be a pro diver, but it's very big. It's like a, I don't know, 54, 58 millimeter watch. They didn't make many of these, but now it was a very cheap watch. It was like $100 watch, and you can actually see like the I don't know if I can pick it up on here, but you know, the edges are not lined up like they would be on a more expensive Invicta. So to some extent, you do get what you pay for if you go with the cheaper ones. Here's a perfect case for longevity. This Pro Diver has a movement in it that was invented in 1977, and I actually have a Seiko watch. I don't have it here that I purchased in 1973 and had it serviced once because of a motorcycle accident, and it still runs. So you talk about longevity, that movement there has been time tested. One thing I will say is this is a Subaqua Noma 3, and it has that combination polyurethane and metal strap. I did have to have this replaced because it wears on certain points. Polyethylene, whatever, it just does not hold up on the test of time. So I have another watch that silver, but I expect to have the same problem with that band at some point in the future. I would say if you replace if you have to replace a strap, just look for a similar model that looks to have a much more durable strap. Like this Excursion, the original band, it just tore. It's almost like it dry rotted over a 6-year period. So I replaced it with this. I do not anticipate this band going out anytime soon. It has too much reinforcement to say otherwise. This watch here, beautiful watch, but it has a very exotic movement, an exotic Swiss movement in it. It has like a sweep second hand, even though it's a quartz watch, and it has no date function, and it has a crazy kind of timer into it that not worth getting into here. But this has a very exotic movement in it. If I ever had to replace the movement on this watch, I probably would have a hard time. They would have a hard time doing that, especially if it's like 10 years from now. This is another example of where a band can go bad. This is Sea Spider Sport, and this band here, although they show it, you know, the twisting it all up and that kind of thing, something about this, it's like a tire. It just dry rots over time, and these kind of bands do not necessarily hold up well over time. But here's a case where I got a little ingenuitive, where I actually replaced. And that's one thing I found, is that Invicta parts are oftentimes interchangeable. If it has the same movement or appears to have the same case, you'd be amazed what you can do. I actually took, so this could kind of almost be considered a one-of-a-kind watch. It's Invicta Sea Spider Sport, but it has a strap on it from an entirely different Invicta, and it just happened to work. And it even has double rods for the attachment on each side, so that's pretty wild. Let's see, what was it about this watch? Yeah, I was saying about the bands, like this kind of band here on an Excursion, it just doesn't seem to hold up over the test of time. So I guess if you come away with anything from this video, I would say that you should consider getting the bracelet. For one thing, it balances out the watch better, and you'll have less of that problem where it wants to lay on the edge of your wrist, and a bracelet is much less likely to go out on it. And if you have to choose between the rubber strap or a leather strap, I would go with the leather. Leather just holds up better over time. And I found that if you have to order a replacement strap, leather is actually considerably cheaper from the Invicta down in Florida. So those are just a couple tips. If you get anything out of it, please give it a like, or maybe click on as a subscriber. I know Phatkat one time, he does great video reviews. He said, I can't remember the words he said, but something to the effect that people who wear the big 50mm plus watches, Invicta watches, are, I don't remember the word, but it's like bold, more outgoing, more daring, more think outside the box kind of people. And an example of that would be my other videos on my channel, William Rock 111, where I skydive, I fight, I professionally arm wrestle, I do butterfly knives, I rip telephone books out. It's just the kind of thing, I think it goes along with the territory, and it's probably why I was attracted to Invicta watches in the first place. So if you get anything out of it, great. If not, like I said, this is just a test video. See how it goes. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.